Morning, Tony. Morning, everyone. Hope
Hi
things
there.
are well. Tony, is it fair to say that this opponent will be tougher and the Socceroos will have to be better tomorrow?
Yes, Colombia will be. You'd expect them to be better when you look at the personnel they have. The quality and where they finished in obviously their qualifying. They're a really strong opponent. Venezuela was good and tough and difficult for us, but this will be a real test, but one that we welcome.
We'll go one question each just with the schedule, and if there's time we'll go more at the end. Vince.
Thanks. Tony, have you had a chance to look closer at the Venezuela game and diagnose, I guess, what went wrong there? In particular, I guess the team probably sat back and were a little bit more passive than you would have wanted them to be.
Yeah, that's true, Vince. Overall, wasn't a great game by us. Probably the best part of the game was just debuting the youngsters and trying to give Mo and Nesta some more experience, international experience. So there's probably, I think, with each camp and each game, I've always tried a new player or two. In this game, we probably played a lot of them at the same time, and that really disrupted our structure, and that was a little bit disjointed. And when you play these teams, if you're not organised well and structured well, you feel like you're chasing the ball, and then habits come in where you think, okay, players retreat and say, okay, well, we're not getting the ball, so we'll just wait. So there was a little bit of confusion. So not the structure that we showed against the US and Canada, but look, I know that is partly due to a lot of the youngsters playing at the same time, but that was my choice to expose them. I don't regret doing that. I'm happy we did that. We learnt a lot from the game, and we saw some really good performances, especially the youngsters that came in, and Patrick Beach stepping up. Thought Kai Truan and young Paul Ocon was solid. So I thought they did well. Alisson did well when he came on. Mo and Nesta probably found it difficult this game, to be honest. I think they started well, especially Mo, but I think that's all part of the learning, to be exposed to these games and to be able to make clear decisions tactically throughout a match. And I felt this was a good opportunity to throw these boys in and see what they can do. And I'm sure we'll all grow from that, and so will they as individuals.
Jake.
Hi, Tony. Hope you're well. I was just wondering, obviously 2 days ago, a pretty big anniversary, 20 years since November 16th. I was wondering sort of how you marked that anniversary in camp. Obviously you personally there playing on the night. You're sort of the bridge between that generation and this one. How important was that anniversary for you, and how did you mark it in camp?
We didn't mark it in camp, to be honest. We didn't really mark it in any particular way, but I'm fully aware of the celebrations back home and what was taking place, and I'm obviously proud and honoured to have been part of that historic night, and also now part of this group and being the head coach of Socceroos after consecutive World Cups. So we certainly began something special back then in 2005 by qualifying, and that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to raise the bar and expectations and try to be that first group that can maybe take Australia further than it's ever been before, and then maybe that will become the norm for Australia. And I've said it before, I know it will happen.
Luke.
Yeah, well, I'll just start with your thoughts on the Victorian leadership spill we just saw there, Tony. No, I'm joking. How much do you think you can use Jacko and Riley in this game? And where are you sort of at in the juggle between exposing the young guys and the bumps in the road that come with that versus maintaining momentum on the lead up to the World Cup with something that might more resemble your starting 11 come game one of the group stage?
Yeah, it's always a balancing act, but throughout my tenure, we've constantly had injuries to key players. When I say key players, players with experience, national team experience. We've never spoken about that or complained about that. I look at it as an opportunity to try someone new, to maybe increase the depth and quality of the squad. I'll continue doing that all the way through. So nothing will change. This will continue. Of course, we have to take into account where players are at in terms of minutes they're playing at their clubs, in terms of obviously Jackson and Riley. They're two in particular for this camp. But we're constantly juggling that. Some players, Cam Burgess has played the most minutes of any player here. He's gone now almost 2 months playing 3 games a week. So he was never going to play 2 games in this window. So taking all that into account, I just felt it was a good chance to give some young boys an opportunity, especially the boys from the A-League, to see what they got. A big test, obviously, big challenge for them, but obviously one, a great honour. And hopefully that's just a start for them, and whether that's for this campaign or later, we'll see. But I'll keep trying to balance it the best way I can, because the key is come June that we're ready. In March is another window. If the more senior players are available that I haven't seen for a while, they'll come back in. And then anyone that's performing well gives themselves a chance.
Joey.
Tony, thanks for your time this evening, mate. Just looking, you've lost 3 players to injury thus far, Nick, Denny and Jason. I guess not opting to bring anyone in to replace those. Could you walk us through some of the practical considerations you had to face when making that decision? Did you come close to giving someone a call to bring them in?
We thought about it, to be honest. Then you take into account the travel, maybe too far from Australia, and then we've seen how difficult it's been for all the boys and staff that have come from Australia trying to settle in, the time, the change, lack of sleep. And then we looked at a few boys in Europe. In the end, we decided to just stay with this group. I'm disappointed we've got the injuries because, I haven't had injuries like this since I've been here. So that's something we have to look at closely. They're 2 attackers and obviously Jason Guerrier, at the back. So it just gives someone else an opportunity, and also gives me an opportunity to maybe, try some plays in different positions as we did in the last game. And we learnt a lot there, and I'm sure we'll do the same on Tuesday.
Amanda.
Hi, Tony.
Hi.
The Socceroos overall have quite a poor win ratio against South American opposition. I mean, what can you put that down to? And is it something you can hopefully turn around in this next game?
Yeah, look, I wasn't aware of the win ratio, to be honest. I was told afterwards, so it's not something that I've focused on or mentioned. This is a great game. We wanted these matches for this reason, that it will be difficult, challenge, great opponents, in particular Colombia, and we may face one of them come the World Cup. So the key will be to get the job done in the World Cup. I want to win every game as a coach, so I'm not happy we lost the last match, but I've got to accept that and that responsibility that comes with the result. But I'll put a team out that I believe can get a result against Colombia and perform better than against Venezuela.
Anna.
Hi, Tony. Hope you're well.
Hi.
Just in terms of, you've tried a few different players out in that central midfield combination. What do you feel like you're looking for, and how close do you think you are to getting that? Obviously, that combination of defensive surety and that creativity in possession.
Yeah, it's a balancing act that we're searching for the right mix, and to have players with different profiles in the midfield area. The last 3 games we tried Maxi Ballard and Aidan O'Neill. I thought this was a chance to try a different combination with young Paulie coming in. I thought he did well, in particular considering the team didn't play well, so it didn't help the debutants. I'm looking at possibly a different combination again now for this game, and just trying to get different options, different profiles, and a different balance into that midfield. And we'll try it, and I'm sure with this game in mind, I think we should have more senior players available for this match, which might help have a better balance in the match itself while we're playing.
Garby.
G'day, Tony.
Hi.
You said you're going to continue looking at different options between now and the World Cup and bringing new players in. With that in mind, can you give us some insight into how much time you'll feel you'll have between the final naming of the squad and that first game of the World Cup to then eventually bed it all in and get it 100% right for that first game?
Look, Daniel, there's many different ways you can approach this. Australia's predominantly always had qualifiers up until November, so you usually only get one window and then you go to a World Cup. We've had the luxury of qualifying automatically, which gives you a chance to stick to the same players and say this is my group, or open the door to possibilities of someone coming in that could potentially make the team stronger, the squad stronger. That's the approach we've taken. When I look at Paul Izzo getting a chance, he's proven he can do it. Patrick Beach, there's a list of players, Jacob Italiano coming in and showing that now he's a chance for the World Cup. That's come by giving players an opportunity. We may lose a little bit of balance or maybe relationships on the park. That's I agree with that. But we haven't had a lot of players for long periods of senior players, so it's been hard to juggle. But I'm happy with the players that have come in and given us more options for the World Cup selection. Come March, again, it just depends on who's available. If we have a large group of senior players available, well, it'll be nice to get them together and try them in one or two of the matches. But we are also hands are tied a little bit in terms of injuries that players have leading into the windows. So we'll see what happens for March, but I'm sure once the squad's selected that we'll have enough time to be ready for the first game.
Luca. Luca, do you have a question? Okay, we'll go round the grounds. Please raise your virtual hands. We'll probably have time for a few more. Bents.
Tony, Luis Diaz in particular, he's a player that, everyone always looks forward to watching. Looks unstoppable. Are you looking forward to seeing him tomorrow and see how the Socceroos handle him?
Yeah, of course. We will be against the best players in the world come the World Cup. And, when you look at where he's come from, where he's played at Liverpool, Bayern Munich, outstanding for Colombia. Again, a player that's playing the highest level, 50, 60 games a year, that's what you're up against. But that's what's coming in June. So, we can expose ourselves to that now. We know his strengths. We know that it's a player with two or three others in their squad that are, key to them. We have to try and stop and try and maybe stop the service that gets to him in the areas that he likes it. And, he's very strong in transition. His best moments are when actually they're defending deep and they play him a ball and he's one-on-one with the defender. And we've got to try and avoid those moments of giving the ball away in areas that can hurt us. But great test, great challenge, and I'll make sure the players are looking forward to it.
Vince.
Tony, in your post-match the other day, you spoke a little bit about Craig Goodwin and I guess being a little bit positionally at fault for the goal you conceded. Is it fair to say that you're no longer looking at him in a wide or the wing-back role? And sort of connected to that, for anyone who's in the squad, how important is it that they've got multiple sort of strings to their bow in terms of positions?
In terms of Craig, I wouldn't rule him out. I think it's a collective error. Yes, the ball's gone into the space there, but I could go through the whole list of things that should have been done prior to the ball getting there, and then once it got there, Kai should have done better. Jason Guerra should have done better. So it's not just on Craig, but what we are learning and seeing very quickly against the US and now Venezuela, you make a big error, you get punished. We had two very good opportunities early in the game. We didn't punish them, and you don't go ahead, and they do. So we have to get better all over the park. This is part of it, exposing players. When you look at the left side, which is really my responsibility, so I have to accept that. I had Kai Truan starting on the left centre back. You got Craig Goodwin, who hasn't played there for a while. Nesta's young, although we know he's a talent, but he's still young at this level. young Paul Ocon, very young. So that whole left side was a very, you could say, inexperienced and not played together. And maybe that showed in certain aspects of the game. But, I wouldn't rule him out of that position, but we have to try players, and you're right, whoever can play in 2 or 3 positions at the World Cup, we need that versatility. We're looking for that. Obviously, they need to have the quality with that. And it was a good lesson for us, but we stayed in the game, and in the end we could have got something out of it. But probably from the 15th minute onwards till the last 15, there wasn't much good from us with and without the ball.
Jake.
Hi, Tony. I was just wondering, historically, the Socceroos don't have the best record against South American opposition. I believe it's 9 wins in 49 matches all time. I was wondering if you have a theory on sort of why that is, why that sort of confederation seems to be harder for us than others, and if anything specific sort of needs to change in order to fix that.
It's like anything. It's like, you spoke about qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in how many years, since 74. And then, we have to break that duck against South American opposition. So that's something we have to do. But look, firstly, they are quality players. That's a fact. The competition that they play in, like even Venezuela, they miss out on the World Cup. But if you have a look at what they come up against in their qualifying and Copa America, whether it's Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Paraguay, Bolivia, you can go on, the list goes on. That's the type of competition they're playing regularly just to qualify. When you're exposed to that, you're ahead of the game. And we're not exposed to that. Our players are not exposed to that. We don't have, we have a very small group of players that are maybe exposed to the highest level. So we have to expose them to these games, these difficult matches and difficult moments in a game. How do they handle that? How do they get through the period that they're suffering in a game? How do they, when they've got the ball, how do they now have longer possession to change the momentum? They're all things that Venezuela and Colombia go through every time they play, home or away. So that's difficult for us to change. So we have to find other ways to bridge that gap. And this is part of what we're doing as a national team to try and bridge that gap. And maybe it's on Tuesday that we can turn that tide and beat a South American opponent. But ideally, if we get them in the World Cup, that's where I really want to change that.
Okay, last one from Luke.
Tony, I know your focus is Colombia right now, but do you have a little update on Jordi, where he's at, how bad it ended up being, and then also Ale and maybe Harry as well?
They're all coming along, different stages. We just had an update about Jordi today, actually, and he's on the pitch, he's running, he's making good progress, but rough guideline is 2 to 3 weeks before he comes back. Ale's a little bit longer, but they're being very conservative with his ankle. And Harry's still, he's working his way back, doing more training, and they're being very cautious with him as well, because I think we all want him to come back and stay healthy. And I think Harry's taken that approach also. So it's more of a steady step-by-step process with Harry. But they're all on track, and we obviously want them back as soon as possible.